Hey y'all, welcome back to Preparedness Truth. Welcome to today's video. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that is happening right now over in the UK and one situation that has been avoided due to a change in plans of what was going on. So if you are new to this channel, please click that subscribe button down below. Be sure to tap the notification bell beside it so that you're notified when I upload new videos. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to share, because each person we share with could be one more person that we wake up to what is going on. And it will be less chaos in the end for us when this SHTF situation really starts to get bad. So this is off the Telegraph over in UK, and it says the National Grid scrambles to secure enough power to keep the lights on amid nuclear fleet outage. And this was November 28th when this came out originally, but there is an updated version that came out earlier today with a new update to what's going on with this. So it originally said that the National Grid has narrowly avoided activating its emergency blackout plan for the first time this winter as low wind speeds and nuclear outages push supply closer to the danger zone. So there was a plan for an emergency blackout, and if anybody's been keeping up with this is where they literally turn the power off in certain areas for a certain amount of time, even if it's freezing cold temperatures, and you just have to survive through it. The company in charge of keeping the lights on said on Monday morning that it may need to pay households to switch appliances off during tea time on Tuesday evening because of a looming power crunch. Now, they had originally thought about paying people £100, which is about 119 US dollars, to not use things such as electric ovens, your dryers, dishwashers, and stuff like that in the peak hours. If you would use them in the off-peak hours, you would get this £100 added on. But they said they have averted that and have changed their mind, and they're not going to do something like that because, power companies don't want to pay you to do something. They want you to pay them for something. However, the tightness of the market at this stage in the year raises questions over market resilience. The electricity network has traditionally smoothed out peaks and trials in demand with gas and coal, but Britain's power supplies increasingly depend on intermittent wind speeds as the West shifts away from fossil fuels and Russia chokes off the gas supplies to Europe. So they're stating this is something that you didn't used to happen. Used to, they could easily do, get past it, have no problems and stuff like that. But supposedly now, since we're going a little greener and switching over to, the wind system, using less of the fossil fuels, we seem to be having a lot bigger problem on blackouts. I mean, ain't that strange? I thought we were supposed to switch over to it and, be more efficient than, our old ways. But, hey, who am I to decide on it, I guess? There have been fears about blackouts this winter due to the loss of Russian fuel, as well as outages on France's nuclear fleet, which has traditionally supplied power to the UK in times of need. In October, National Grid warned of the prospect of rolling blackouts in the UK if gas-fired power plants cannot get enough fuel to run, and the UK cannot import power from the continent. So in response, the grid set up its so-called demand flexibility scheme, under which it will pay households to curb demand at peak times, which is what I was talking about on the £100. Households would need to have signed up with their supplier beforehand to get the payments, potentially yielding up to £20 per day if they cut their typical energy usage. Monday's notice that the scheme had been called upon its first time it has been seriously considered. So this week's problems are not a result of gas shortages. Instead, National Grid was faced with forecasts of colder weather on top of low wind speeds on Tuesday evening, as well as lower output from both the French and UK nuclear fleet, which were both owned by EDF. So they're stating that it was not, the gas shortages that even resulted in this so-called possible emergency plan that they was going to have to do. It was actually this upgrade on all of this green stuff where they're going to use wind instead because the wind was not going to have enough output to supply everything they need. So this new upgraded green agenda is what was actually going to be causing it this time. But they said they ultimately decided it did not need to enlist the households to curb the demand after Britain secured enough orders for tomorrow evening from France, which in turn is importing more power from elsewhere. So they're not actually going to do it. This is the new update on it that came out earlier this morning. So if someone in the UK was considering signing up, I reckon that has been called off, and they decided that they now have enough power supply right now to curb this, not have to do an emergency blackout. But they're still warning that they don't know later, as it gets colder and more supply and demand situations, if they're going to have the supply to keep up with the demand, and they may still have to do the emergency blackouts. So still keep prepping, still keep preparing for your power to possibly be out in cold weather, because they're saying they're not out of the woods. They're just talking about this one particular day that they slid by on it when there wasn't going to be much wind to produce, but they secured enough to keep y'all going. So this is stuff like this we're looking at in the U.S. It's doing the same thing with the power outages and all this kind of stuff. It's just getting to the point of you really don't know what is going to happen or what is going on. One day everything, has smoothed out some. There's no bumps in the road. And then the next day it is, we have a shortage of this, or we have a shortage of that, or we have a supply chain issue. And it's either something to do with the war, or it's something to do with the trucks, or it's, a railroad strike, or it's just something everywhere going on somewhere that seems to be adding little bumps in the road where, it's like you get over one hump and then there's another one right there in front of you. So definitely keep preparing. Don't stop now. Now is not a good time. Be as self-sufficient as you possibly can, because this system's crazy. Do not rely on outside systems. At one time, right here where we're at on our system, a storm could come through, and just as soon as that storm cleared out, they were out there, no matter how bad it was, putting up power lines, getting the power back on, and you wouldn't be out for just a little while. I mean, even in a disaster of a storm. Now, with the power grid systems in most companies, I don't know, they just don't work like they used to. Supplies supposedly just aren't out there like they used to be to get things back up and going, so you can't rely on what we used to. There's no guarantee that we go in here and turn the faucet on and running water come out. We've had that happen 3 times this last month, where you go to cut the faucet on and supposedly there's something wrong with the water lines, and we didn't have any water. So luckily, as preppers, we have a backup system. So, if we don't have water coming out of that faucet, we're still good to go. But a lot of people still are in the blinder situation, I guess you can say, and they don't have backup. So if it doesn't flow out of that faucet, or they don't flip that light switch and the lamp come on, they don't have anything else. So definitely have backups. That's the main situation, because you're not guaranteed that it to be the grid to go down, because it could just be some kind of freak storm come through, whether a snowstorm or a tornado, because they're even giving us bad weather for this evening. It could be a possibility of Mother Nature in itself causing the disaster. It doesn't have to be part of this agenda that we're dealing with causing it. So be prepared for anything. That's the best way that I know how to tell you to do it, because if not, you could be left out in the cold, and that's not a very good thing. So thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, God bless you, and keep prepping.